Let's go out and do one final test of our application. We can close our console window, refresh, and now we can search for a topic. So JavaScript, we get some information and we get links out to videos. Let's try something else. So Ajax, see what happens. So we got search term Ajax, and we could get more specific. So maybe this one isn't a great search term. JSON. So JSON, there's a bunch of information on JSON. So it's not really up to you. Whatever the search terms and whatever information you want to pull back, you can really fine tune and customize this to suit your needs. And we've got all of the source code again included, as well as always happy to help within the Q&A section. So now let's do a quick overview of our source code and just to review what we've been working on in the previous lessons. So we did some styling, and this was one of the last lessons, making it look or more presentable with the YouTube content. We had to divide out our wiki and YouTube. We have a button here, we have an input for the search term, but we had to divide out the output for the wiki and the YouTube because when you send an AJAX call, it's asynchronous. So we don't know which one is coming back first. And because we're making two AJAX calls, we want to make sure that the content comes back first for the wiki on top and the YouTube second. Otherwise, your page isn't going to be consistent. So you got to keep that in mind. We built out a simple function to do AJAX calls. It's got it requests two parameters, so URL and callback. So we do our XHR object. We open and send it to the URL. So that's all down here. And then we listen for the ready state changes. And then this is the asynchronous part of it because the ready state changes. And then whenever it does change, until it reads ready state 4 and status 200, we don't finish off the callback. And within the callback, we're parsing back as JSON formatted data. So we're taking that request text, response text, and parsing it as JSON because we're using it as a JavaScript object within our callback function. So all we had is one function that fires off whenever we click the button, and that's the search over here. So we grab the search term. We have a URL, so for our API endpoint. We also create variables to hold the objects of the DOM elements, so the two that we want it to output to. We set some default values in here. And then we've got the first AJAX calls to Wikipedia. So when we get that content back within the response object, we loop through it and we output it into that output area that is expecting the content. And then we've got our second AJAX call. So this one's going out to YouTube, and this is doing the same thing using the same function. And we're putting in some of the values there as variables. You don't have to do it this way. You could just simply paste this into your inner HTML. So it's up to you, however you want to do that. We're looping through all the data items that are being returned, and we're building out some HTML there, which was the purpose of all of the styling, so it looks nice and neat. So at the end of the day, we're making two AJAX requests to two different places, sources of data, and we're making use of that data within our HTML page. So now it's up to you. Try this out for yourself, improve upon it. There's a lot of room to improve on this. There's a lot of data coming back from each one of these streams. You can include another AJAX call if you want. It's really up to you. Practice AJAX, get more familiar with it, and get more familiar with working with the various APIs, returning back data from those various APIs, and then making use of that content that's being returned back into your HTML page so it's visible and usable for your users. And one of the great things about these APIs is that you don't have to write up all this content, so it's all there at the ready. All you have to do is make that connection, grab that data, and then you can output it for your web visitors and your application users. And all of the source code, again, is included so that you can get started really quickly building out the same type of application and then update the code, try it out, and experiment a little bit with what the syntax is doing and what the code is doing.